I stared at my phone in confusion. The message I'd just sent to our family group chat had disappeared. "I'll arrive at 9 a.m., I'd written, letting everyone know when my flight would land for our annual family reunion. But seconds after sending it, the text vanished as if I'd never sent it at all. Before I could type it again, my phone rang. Mom's name flashed across the screen. I answered, expecting her usual cheerful voice asking about my flight details. "Honey, please don't come tomorrow," she said instead, her voice trembling. I could tell she'd been crying. "Mom? What's going on?" I asked, sitting up straight in my chair. The background noise of my New York apartment faded away as I focused on her unsteady breathing. It's just not a good time, sweetheart," she stammered. "Maybe we can reschedule for next month?" My stomach knotted. This wasn't like her at all. Mom was the one who planned these reunions religiously, who counted down the days until all three of her children would be under one roof again. "Mom, I already bought the tickets. I'm packed and ready to go. What's happening?" I pressed, trying to keep my voice calm while my mind raced through possibilities. There was a long pause, then what sounded like a muffled conversation. I could hear Dad's voice in the background, though I couldn't make out what he was saying. "I just don't think it's a good idea right now," Mum repeated, her voice firmer this time, though still shaking. "Please, Emma, trust me on this." I glanced at my suitcase in the corner of my bedroom, packed and ready for tomorrow's early flight to Chicago. "Mum, you're scaring me. Are you okay? Is Dad okay? Is it Grandma?" "Everyone's fine," she insisted quickly. "It's just family stuff. I'll explain later." "Family stuff," I echoed. "I'm family, Mum. What aren't you telling me?" She sighed heavily. "I have to go. We'll talk soon, okay? I love you." Before I could respond, she hung up. I stared at my phone in disbelief, then immediately tried calling back. It went straight to voicemail. I tried Dad next. No answer. Then my brother Michael. Nothing. Finally, I called my sister Jessica, who lived just outside of Chicago, not far from our parents. She picked up on the third ring, sounding distracted. "Hey, Em, can I call you back? I'm in the middle of something. Did Mom tell you not to come to the reunion tomorrow?" I asked immediately. There was a pause. "What reunion?" My confusion deepened. "The family reunion. The one we have every year? The one I'm flying in for tomorrow morning?" "Oh," Jessica said, sounding strange. Yeah, I think it's canceled this year." "Canceled? Since when? No one told me." "I thought Mom would have mentioned it," she replied vaguely. "Look, I really need to go. Let's talk later, okay?" She hung up before I could press further. Something was definitely wrong. I pulled up our family group chat again. Scrolling through the recent messages, I found nothing about canceling the reunion. In fact, just 3 days ago, Mom had sent a message asking what everyone wanted for the big Saturday dinner. We'd all responded with our requests. Dad's grilled ribeye, Michael's mac and cheese, Jessica's request for Mum's famous apple pie, and my vote for her homemade bread. Everything had seemed perfectly normal. Until now. I opened my laptop and checked my email, wondering if I'd somehow missed an update. Nothing there either. Then I logged into Facebook, scrolling through my family members' recent posts for clues. What I found made my blood run cold. My brother Michael had posted just hours ago. "Sometimes the people you think you know best are the ones keeping the biggest secrets." The post had a few cryptic comments from high school friends asking if he was okay, but no responses from Michael. No family members had commented at all. I stared at the screen, my mind racing. What secret could be big enough to cancel our family reunion at the last minute? And why would Mum delete my message and beg me not to come? I pulled up my airline app. My flight was scheduled for 6 a.m. tomorrow. I could still cancel, get a credit for a future flight. But the mystery of my mother's tears and my brother's cryptic post nagged at me. This wasn't just some scheduling conflict. Something serious was happening with my family, and they were trying to keep me out of it. I remembered how my mother's voice had shaken, how desperate she'd sounded, not angry, not annoyed, frightened. My mother was afraid of me coming home. That settled it. I wasn't canceling anything. Whatever was happening, I needed to know. These were the people who had raised me, shaped me. If they were in trouble, I wanted to help. And if they were keeping secrets, well, I deserved to know what they were. I sent a quick text to Jessica. I'm still coming tomorrow. Something's wrong and I need to know what it is. She responded immediately this time. Please don't, Em, give it a few weeks. I typed back, why won't anyone tell me what's going on? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, because it will change everything. I stared at those words, feeling a chill run through me. What could possibly change everything? Had someone committed a crime? Was someone seriously ill? Was there some dark family secret that was finally coming to light? Whatever it was, I was determined to find out. I closed my laptop, checked that my alarm was set for 4 a.m. and tried to get some sleep. Tomorrow I would be going home, whether my family wanted me there or not. My flight touched down at O'Hare at 8:47 a.m. As the plane taxied to the gate, I turned my phone back on, half expecting a flurry of messages from my family. There was nothing. Not even a response to the text I'd sent last night informing them I was still coming. I grabbed my carry-on and made my way through the terminal, debating my next move. Normally, Dad would be waiting at arrivals to pick me up. Today, I'd need to find my own way to their house in the suburbs. I ordered a rideshare and settled into the back seat of a sedan 20 minutes later. The driver was chatty, asking what brought me to Chicago. I gave vague answers about visiting family, my mind elsewhere. As we merged onto the highway, I sent a simple message to the family group. Landed. On my way to the house. No one deleted it this time, but no one responded either. Watching the familiar landscape of my hometown pass by the window, I felt like I was heading into a storm. The quiet suburban streets looked the same as always. Trimmed lawns, basketball hoops in driveways, American flags fluttering from porches. But something in my family had changed dramatically, and I was about to walk right into it. When the car pulled up to my parents' 2-story colonial, I noticed all 3 family cars in the driveway, Mum's SUV, Dad's pickup, and Michael's sedan. So they were all home. Waiting, hiding, I couldn't be sure. I thanked the driver, grabbed my bag, and walked up the familiar concrete path to the front door. Should I knock? This had been my home for 18 years. I still had a key, but something held me back from using it, a strange feeling that I was now an intruder. I rang the doorbell. Long seconds passed. I could hear movement inside, hushed voices. Finally, the door swung open, and there stood my father. His face, usually warm and welcoming, was drawn and serious. "Emma," he said, not moving to hug me as he normally would, "you shouldn't have come." "Nice to see you too, Dad," I replied, trying to keep my tone light despite the tension crackling between us. "Can I come in?" He hesitated, then stepped aside. I walked into the foyer, the familiar smell of home. Mum's cinnamon candles, the faint scent of Dad's coffee, washing over me. Everything looked normal. Family photos on the walls, Mum's collection of ceramic birds on the shelf, the grandfather clock ticking steadily in the corner. "Where is everyone?" I asked, setting down my bag. "Kitchen," Dad said simply, leading the way. I followed him down the hallway, heart pounding. What would I find? What terrible secret was about to be revealed? The kitchen was bright with morning sunlight streaming through the bay windows. Mom stood at the counter, her back to me, hands braced against the marble as if for support. Michael sat at the table, staring into a mug of coffee. Jessica was there too, leaning against the refrigerator, arms crossed. No one looked up when I entered. "I'm here," I announced unnecessarily, my voice sounding strange in the heavy silence. Mum turned slowly. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face pale. She looked like she hadn't slept. "Emma," she said softly, We asked you not to come." "You did," I agreed, "but you wouldn't tell me why. What's going on? What's so terrible that you had to cancel our family reunion and try to keep me away?" Michael finally looked up from his coffee. "You should sit down, Em." A surge of irritation cut through my anxiety. "No, I don't want to sit down. I want someone to tell me what's happening. Now." Jessica pushed away from the refrigerator. "Show her, Mom. She's here now. She might as well know." Mom closed her eyes briefly, then nodded. She walked over to a drawer next to the sink, opened it, and pulled out what looked like a piece of paper. She held it for a moment, staring down at it, then slowly extended it toward me. I stepped forward and took it. It was a laboratory report of some kind. I scanned it quickly, medical terminology jumping out at me. Genetic markers, paternal DNA, probability of relationship. And then I saw it, the conclusion at the bottom of the page in bold letters. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the tested child. I looked up, confused. What is this? Whose test is this? The silence that followed was deafening. "It's yours, Emma," Mom finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And your father's." I stared at her, not comprehending. "My father's?" "Mine," Dad said quietly from behind me. "I'm not your biological father, Emma." The room seemed to tilt sideways. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. "That's not possible," I said automatically. "There must be a mistake." "There's no mistake," Michael said, his voice hard. "We ran the test twice." "But why would you even test this?" I demanded, looking from face to face. "What made you suddenly question whether Dad is my father?" Mom and Dad exchanged a look I couldn't decipher. "Someone contacted your father," Mom explained hesitantly. "A man named James Mercer. He said he knew me back in college, before I met your dad." "And?" I prompted when she paused. "And he claimed to be your biological father," she finished, looking down at her hands. "He had pictures of us together from college. He knew things, details about our relationship that only someone who was there would know." "So you just believed him?" I asked incredulously. "Some random man shows up making claims and you immediately test Dad's DNA against mine?" "It wasn't random, Emma," Dad said quietly. "The timing, it lined up. Your mom and I had only been dating for 2 months when she found out she was pregnant with you." I turned to look at him, seeing the pain etched into his face. "But you never questioned it. For 28 years. I had no reason to," he replied, his voice rough with emotion. "You were my daughter. You are my daughter. Nothing changes that." "Except apparently everything changes that," I shot back, anger rising to combat the shock. "Enough that you tried to keep me from coming home. Enough that you deleted my message from the group chat and begged me not to come." "We weren't ready to tell you," Mom said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "We were trying to process it ourselves, figure out how to handle it." "Handle it?" I repeated. "Handle me, you mean? Keep poor Emma in the dark because she can't handle the truth." "That's not fair," Jessica interjected. "We were trying to protect you." I rounded on her. "Protect me? By lying to me? By hiding something this fundamental about who I am?" "We've never lied to you," Dad insisted. "No? What do you call this?" I waved the lab report. "What do you call 28 years of letting me believe you're my biological father?" "I didn't know," he said simply. "None of us did." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "So what does this James Mercer want? Money? Recognition?" Mom and Dad exchanged another look. "He wants to meet you," Mom said quietly. "He has pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The doctors have given him less than 6 months. His dying wish is to meet his daughter." The words hit me like physical blows. A stranger with my DNA was dying, and his last wish was to meet me. A man I'd never known existed until this moment wanted to form a connection before it was too late. And you were going to keep this from me? I asked, my voice breaking. You were going to let him die without telling me he existed? We needed time, Mom pleaded. Time to verify his claims, time to decide as a family how to handle this. We didn't expect him to contact you directly. I froze. What do you mean, contact me directly? Michael spoke up. He found you on social media. He's been messaging you, but you haven't seen it yet. It's probably in your message requests. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, navigating to my Instagram message requests. There it was, a message from someone named James Mercer, sent yesterday afternoon. Hello, Emma, it read. You don't know me, but I'm your biological father. I don't have much time left, and I'd very much like to meet you. Your mother and the man who raised you know about me now. I hope they've told you. If not, I'm sorry to be the one to break this news. Please consider reaching out. Time is something I don't have much of anymore. I looked up from my phone, tears blurring my vision. So this is the big secret. This is why you tried to keep me away, because a dying man wants to meet me before he's gone. It's complicated, Emma, Dad said, his voice strained. This changes things for all of us. It doesn't have to, I insisted. You're still my dad. You're the one who raised me, who taught me to ride a bike and helped me with my homework and walked me down the aisle at my wedding. Nothing changes that. That's what I said, Dad replied with a sad smile. But there's more to it than that. James Mercer isn't just some random man from your mother's past. He's... Mum cut him off. Let's take this one step at a time, please. Emma's just found out. She needs time to process. What? I demanded, looking between them. He's what? If there's more to this story, I need to know all of it. Mom sank into a chair at the table. Dad moved to stand behind her, his hands on her shoulders in a gesture so familiar it made my chest ache. James Mercer, Dad said slowly, is Robert Mercer's son. The name hung in the air. Robert Mercer was one of Chicago's wealthiest businessmen, a real estate mogul who owned half the high-rises downtown. His family was Chicago royalty, old money that went back generations. That's not possible, I stammered. It is, Mom confirmed quietly. I met James at Northwestern. I was there on scholarship working 2 jobs. He was a Mercer with a trust fund and everything handed to him on a silver platter. She looked up at me. We were from different worlds, but somehow we connected. It was intense, but short-lived. When his father found out he was dating a scholarship girl, he threatened to cut James off, so James ended it. 2 weeks later, she continued, I met your father at the diner where I worked. When I found out I was pregnant, I assumed it was your dad's. The timing was close enough. I tried to absorb this new reality. So my biological father is a Mercer, which makes me a Mercer by blood, Michael finished, his tone bitter. Heir to one of the biggest fortunes in Chicago. Is that what this is about? Money? James says no, Dad said skeptically. He claims he just wants to meet you before he dies, but his father is still alive, still running the Mercer empire at 86. And if Robert Mercer finds out he has another grandchild, it could change his will, Jessica added. The Mercers are worth billions, Em, and James is Robert's only child, which would make you his only grandchild, I finished, feeling dizzy. Unless James has other children. He doesn't, Mum said. He never married. I ran my hands through my hair. So you were going to keep this from me? The fact that I have another father, a dying father, and potentially an inheritance that could change my life? We were trying to protect you, Mum insisted. The Mercers aren't just wealthy, they're powerful and ruthless in protecting what's theirs. He could try to bring you into the fold, Dad said. Or he could try to discredit you, paint your mother as someone who hid you from them. Did you? I asked suddenly. Hide me for financial gain? Mom's face crumpled. How can you ask that? I didn't even know James was your father. I loved your dad. I still love him. Money had nothing to do with any of it. Shame washed over me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. This is just a lot to process. The grandfather clock chimed 9 times, reminding me that less than an hour ago, I'd been blissfully unaware that my entire identity was about to be upended. So what happens now? I finally asked. James wants to meet me. Do I agree to that? That's your decision, Dad said gently. Whatever you choose, we'll support you. But understand what you might be walking into, Michael warned. Once you meet him, you're potentially opening the door to the entire Mercer family. They could demand a more official DNA test, Jessica added. They could claim you publicly as a Mercer. Your life would change overnight. I thought about my life in New York, my modest apartment, my job as an elementary school teacher, my husband Tom, who worked as an architect. We weren't poor, but we weren't wealthy either. We'd been saving for a down payment for years. We'd been discussing when we could afford to start a family. One meeting with James Mercer could potentially solve all our financial concerns forever, but at what cost? I need to talk to Tom, I said, pulling out my phone. I called from Dad's den, the room where he'd helped me with homework, where he'd consoled me through my first heartbreak, where he'd told me how proud he was when I got into NYU. My father, the only father I'd ever known. DNA test or no DNA test, nothing could change that. Tom answered quickly. Hey babe, how's the family reunion going? His cheerful voice nearly broke me. Tom, I said, my voice cracking. Something's happened. Something big. After talking with Tom, I returned to the kitchen. My family was still there, waiting anxiously. I'm going to meet him, I announced. Whatever comes after that, we'll handle it together. Dad nodded, his eyes reflecting a mixture of understanding and fear. When? Today, if possible, I replied. Where is he? In Chicago. Northwestern Memorial, Mum said quietly. He's been in and out of the hospital for treatments. Jessica reached for her phone. I'll text you his contact information. His assistant gave it to us. I nodded, suddenly realizing the man I was about to meet wasn't just my biological father. He was a Mercer, someone with staff, resources, and a life completely different from anything I'd known. 2 hours later, I stood outside a private room at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I'd insisted on coming alone, despite my family's protests. This first meeting needed to be just between James and me. I knocked softly and entered when a weak voice called, "Come in." The man in the hospital bed barely resembled the vibrant college student I'd seen in the photos Mom had reluctantly shown me. James Mercer was thin, his skin pallid, his once thick dark hair now sparse and grey. But his eyes, a startling blue that matched my own, were alert and fixed on me with keen interest. "Emma," he said, his voice stronger now. "You came." I approached cautiously. "Yes, I just found out about you this morning." He nodded, gesturing to the chair beside his bed. "I figured as much when I saw your message. I'll arrive at 9 a.m. Your mother's reaction told me everything I needed to know." "Why contact me now?" I asked, sitting down. "After all these years?" James adjusted himself in the bed, wincing slightly. "Pancreatic cancer has a way of clarifying what matters. I've spent my life building wealth, carrying on the Mercer legacy, but I've built nothing of my own. No family, no children, except you, a daughter I never knew I had." "Did you suspect back then?" He shook his head. "By the time Karen would have known she was pregnant, we'd already broken up. I was young, foolish, more concerned with my inheritance than what truly mattered. By the time I realized my mistake, she was married to Richard. They seemed happy. I thought it best to stay away." "But you kept tabs on her," I guessed. "On us." A slight smile. "From a distance. I knew she had children." I never suspected one might be mine until recently, when I saw your photo online. You have my mother's eyes. My eyes. It made me wonder. So you investigated? I hired someone, he admitted. Once I knew I was dying, I had to know if my suspicions were correct. When the DNA results came back positive, his voice trailed off. Well, here we are. An uncomfortable silence fell between us. What do you say to a stranger who shares your DNA, who is dying, who represents both a connection to your past and a potential complication for your future? I don't want anything from you, I finally said. I have a father, the man who raised me. I don't need another one. I understand, James replied, surprising me. Richard is your father in all the ways that matter. I'm just a biological connection, a footnote in your story. Then why contact me at all? He looked out the window for a moment. Selfish reasons, mostly. I wanted to see you, to know you exist, to apologize for not being there. And he hesitated. To warn you. Warn me? About what? My father, James said grimly. Robert Mercer doesn't know about you yet, but he will. The lawyers handling my estate will find the DNA test, the correspondence, and when he discovers he has a grandchild, he'll either try to bring me into the family or destroy me, I finished, remembering my family's warnings. James nodded. Exactly. My father is complicated. Family means everything to him, but only on his terms. He wanted me to marry someone from his social circle, produce heirs to carry on the Mercer name. I disappointed him by staying single. So what should I do? Meet him on your terms, not his, James advised, before he finds out through other channels. I can arrange it while I'm still here to mediate. I considered this. And if I don't want any connection to the Mercers, if I just want to go back to my life in New York, then go, he said simply. I won't stop you, but understand that once my father knows about you, he may not give you that choice. I studied his face, this stranger who was part of me. What would you do if you were me? A bitter laugh escaped him. I'm hardly the person to give life advice. I've spent my life trying to please a man who was never satisfied, accumulating wealth I'll never spend, avoiding real connections because they were too messy, too complicated. He reached for my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. Don't be like me, Emma. Whatever you decide about the Mercer connection, make the choice that brings you peace, not the one that brings you power or money. Is that what you're doing now? Finding peace? He smiled sadly, trying to. Too late probably, but yes. We talked for another hour, about his life, about mine, about the strange twist of fate that had connected us, and then kept us apart for 28 years. As I left, promising to return tomorrow, I felt both lighter and heavier, burdened with new complications, but somehow relieved to have answers I hadn't even known I was missing. Outside the hospital, I texted my family. I met him. Coming home now, we have a lot to talk about. Whatever came next, whether I embraced the Mercer connection or rejected it, whether I gained a fortune or simply the brief knowledge of a biological father, I knew my real family would be there to help me navigate it. The family that had raised me, loved me, and yes, even tried to protect me from this very moment. The family that mattered, DNA or no DNA,